Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. According to the agenda, the first thing is a discussion. Joanna Layton and Joan Pierce, recreation lot, Picnic Island off Wenham Shores.
They made it.
Yes.
Thank God, we've been reading this on the agenda for 4 months.
I know.
Right. You were supposed to be here pre-COVID, I think.
Yeah, you'll see that for sure.
I think I asked the last time, does Joanna Layton still even live in this town?
She's on the agenda every week.
I know it. I know.
All right, so whoever's spokesperson can go up there, both of you if you'd
Should we
like.
bring up another chair?
Yes,
You can?
Yes, you may, and just make sure you sign in, please.
And this is about the CR information that I gave you last meeting. Yep.
Yes.
I think there's two there.
Oh, thank you. We'll keep it rolling, well, family
Okay.
style.
What I'm doing here is passing out such a collection. I wanted to
Oh,
make
beautiful.
sure you all, and it just says member, and those
Well,
labels come off, don't worry about it.
Next, can you personalize it next time, please?
Come off.
Oh, my
The
gosh.
chronology,
This is nice.
Oh, thank you for asking, you looking good. Thank you.
Brian,
the
this
chronology.
Thank you.
You must be, oh, I don't even know Dan, how are you?
Hi.
Well, meet Dan, this is Joanna.
The
Oh, this will help a lot.
chronology of what's been going on for us started in August of 2019, where the town decided that they wanted, I'm assuming, money, and put a lot of houses, or I should say, land up for sale. And also, they had another auction scheduled for land of low value. We only found out about it because a small sign appeared on the recreation area. And when people are walking their dogs, and by the way, there's 72 homes in our area, and when they were walking their dogs, they saw the sign for the auction, and that became, oh my God, what is going on here? Tom Mannix, who is going to be with us tonight, lives not far, stone throw from there. And he began immediately talking to the residents, what is going on, and so forth and so on. And somebody said, go knock on Joanna Layton's door, because I happen to live there. Along with that, we said, oh, we need to begin to talk to the select board. And Mr. Townsend and Mike met with Tom Mannix and probably 30 neighbors. By the way, today we have about 45 today. And they were trying to look at how we could solve that problem. And Tom and the people that were there, a good amount of them said to them, hey, wait a minute, you can't give this land away. We have rights to this. It says it in our deed. And so that became another legal issue of what the heck was going to go on. So Tom began to pursue, and he's an avid fisherman, and he contacted the Department of Fish and Game. Now, I don't know if he saw or talked to Steve Hurley or Joan first, but they became very interested in helping us. And in October, the end of September actually, we had a final meeting in the library where Joan appeared along with Steve Hurley. And Joan presented, and tonight she will, as soon as I be quiet, she will tell you, probably, and pick up where I leave off. But that particular night, Joan said to us that we would like to help you and prepare a conservation restriction. And of course, we didn't know what that was, but we soon began to learn a lot about it. One of the things we had to do was to come to the select board and make that presentation and be able to say that they were for it and they were going to support it, which they did, 100%. They were trying to come up with some solve. Actually, Mike was trying to come up with some solve, but Mike turned to the audience of about 35 people that night and said, well, you should ask these people. And so everybody goes, no, we want a conservation restriction. And so we went away happy that we knew we had the support of the select board. From there, a warrant article had to be written. I wrote up one, not necessarily was it the one we ended up with, as you'll see in the book I gave you, pamphlet I gave you. That particular one that you're looking at is the one that we went through special town meeting October, and it was unanimously passed. Now, I have to give my hats off to Sarah Hewins because she saw that that particular warrant, which was voted on by the select board, had completely changed when it went to KP Law. Who knows why, but it was, and it was all wrong. So Sarah, that day of the special election, stayed with it and worked directly with two lawyers from KP Law who were very, very adept in this kind of situation. And they wrote that up that you're looking at. Now, if you remember at special town meeting, the warrant had some really crazy one. That's the one that we didn't vote on that one. We voted on the one that Sarah showed up on the screen, which is that one. And Sarah stayed with it, and she explained exactly why this was important, and I'm sure Joan will tell you why, again, when I stop talking, is that there's a reason and there's an order to that, and it has to be written up that way, and there's a sequence, and she'll discuss that, I'm sure. And I'm proud to say that was passed unanimously. And so here we are. Not necessarily, to me anyway, do you have to vote. I only want to look and present this to you so you can understand what this is all about and bring you up to speed. At least the vote of confidence tonight would help me to know that this is something that you support as well. Let me turn this over to Joan. And real quick, before I really do that, on the left-hand side, I gave you all kinds of pictures. Pictures that clearly show you to the right here is a parking area. Two vehicles can park there. The next one I quickly show you is the view from the shore to the top. And the third one is the Wenham Pond and the picnic aisle. You really can't see too much of the picnic aisle, but then the very last one is the picnic aisle. And I want to tell you, hats off to Brooke. On Labor Day weekend, on Saturday, Sarah Hewins, Brooke Monroe, Joan Pierce, Tom Mannix, Joanna Layton, and my neighbor Sue Locke with 3 canoes, right? Went out there. Look, I didn't. I just stayed on the ground because I'm not too sure-footed. But I met 2 fishermen, and they were so glad that we were going to do something about that because they heard about that auction. So they went out. That was Labor Day, Saturday, and Joan. And then from there, the next step here on the right-hand side is the actual warrant. After that is Article 97, because I said to Joan, I really don't know 97, what it is, and it's on the bottom of the warrant. I really need to know it, and other people should know it too. Joan was so great. She gave me this doc. The next one is really the definitive plan of Wenham Shores. It's the one that was filed 1967, as you can see, and colored in yellow is the recreation and the picnic aisle. And Joan will talk at the next one, which is the conservation, and it's double-sided, so she'll talk on that for sure. And after that is the survey, because from the September meeting, site meeting that we had, Joan and made a recommendation that we probably should have this surveyed. Again, I want to thank Brooke. Brooke went right up back, came to the town hall and spoke directly with Rick LaFawn. And he found the funding to get this done. Now I'll tell you, we've had about multiple iterations of this because Joan is, she's she knows what she's doing anyway. And so she's finding, this was a clerical error here and there, but the one I want to point out, and I'll let Joan talk more steadily on that, is in the bottom it says, could not find this iron rod with cap. And apparently, we don't know what happened to it. I think Brooke might chime in. I don't know. You were going to take it up with Art Borden, I guess. She did find the shed, and she did speak to the neighbor, and he's willing to move it. And the very last page is the GIS that Joan put together. It talks about the various bounds that were there, and then the question in the bottom is she couldn't find the iron rod with cap. I thank you for listening to me, and now I would like to ask Joan if she could just chime in.
Well, all right, my name is Joan Pierce. I work for the Massachusetts Fish and Game. Can everyone hear me okay? And I work out of our Southeast District office, and we cover this part of the southeastern Massachusetts. And so we were contacted by citizens several months ago pertaining to the recreation area and the picnic aisle. And really, I know you have other items on your agenda, and the most important thing that I wanted to cover with you is this draft conservation restriction. And after we do that, if you do have questions about the Article 97 or the warrant article, then we can touch on those. But I don't know if people have had a chance to even look at this document yet. It's long, it's not thrilling to read, but it's important. And if you're not familiar with conservation restrictions, then I think what we can do is we'll go through the document so you know what it covers. There is, for example, a conservation restriction on another piece of town-owned property called the Cole property. I don't know what you call it, but you got it from Mr. Cole. So this has a lot of similarities to that document. It's a little bit shorter. And it has a few specifics about boating, which the Cole property doesn't have because I don't think there's a pond on it. Anyway, so that's really what I propose to do tonight. We're not looking for anyone to vote on anything, but this will introduce you to this document. I can come back again to answer questions, or if you have other questions, give them to Brooke. She can send them to me, whatever works for the commission. And then at some point, this document, perhaps if you have questions or you request some changes with language, would go to the Board of Selectmen. And that will be the entity of the town of Carver that officially approves this document, assuming that they do. And but the idea is that the property would be transferred ultimately to the Conservation Commission with this document, you might say, attached. So would you like if we just go through the document? And I want to thank Joanna for this excellent package that she's put together. And is everyone comfortable with that? Brooke, is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay, all right. And at any point, just call out questions. And it really, if you're not familiar with these documents, they can, they're long and they're not exciting to read. But they start out, this is a grant because we're not going to be paying for this conservation restriction. It will be given to us by the town. And you notice that a grant of conservation easement and conservation restriction to the Massachusetts Fish and Game. The town of Carver is the owner, and we are referred to as the Commonwealth in this document. And what I've done in here is I've put in red particular language that I want you to be sure to read. I want you to read all of it so that you understand it. But there's some language that's particularly germane to the town of Carver or to these particular pieces of property. And that's why that language is in red. It just makes it easier for people to see things. So we're talking about 2 parcels. And conservation restrictions, they tend to follow the same format. Section number 1 talks about the purpose. And the purpose section will describe the reasons for the conservation restriction. In this case, for example, item number 2, the Wenham Pond and the recreation area and the picnic aisle are habitat for a rare and endangered turtle. There also are conservation resources and passive recreational resources of Wenham Pond, and that's the purpose behind why we are doing this conservation restriction. At the bottom of page 2, there's no red language there, text there, but we talk about a baseline documentation report. And that is something that is paid for entirely by Fish and Game. However, the town of Carver, Conservation will be a participant, and the town will be asked to sign it, and you'll get a copy. But it's paid for by the Department of Fish and Game. If we then go to page 3, you will see section 2, prohibited acts and uses. Basically, this whole section 2 is what I would call boilerplate. And you will see this language on every single conservation restriction that's ever recorded, including the one that's already on the Cole property. Sometimes the paragraphs are in slightly different order, but it's basically the same thing. We don't want the town to ever put up a building on the property, or dump things there, or extract sand and gravel, things like that. And then it is self-explanatory. And then on page 4, we continue with the prohibited uses. And then in section 3, and this is the part where we have tweaked things, what is permitted on the property? And this is important that people understand. And so item number 1 talks about the existence of the unpaved path from Cranberry Circle down to the pond for access to the pond. And this is important that it be there because it is a feature of the land, and we want this also documented in the baseline monitoring report so that everybody knows that it's okay for the town to have this path on the piece of property going down to the pond, and the town can keep it that way if that's what the town chooses. All right, so then we go page 5. We talk about, in particular, number 5, the type of signage that can go there. And we talk about on item number 8, and I'm just running through these. You'll need to read this more carefully. Item number 8 talks about trails, because you might want to have a little footpath that goes through the property. And then there's some other things that you are allowed to do, again on page 6, and gives more descriptions of them. On page 7, section 4, access by the Commonwealth and the general public. So this conservation restriction, again, the owner is the town, and you're granting to the Commonwealth, which will be the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game, the right to enter onto the property at reasonable times and in reasonable manners to accomplish certain things, such as scientific studies. Frequently, our office in the district, Steve Hurley, our fisheries biologist, will do fish surveys of various ponds. And that's one of the things that would be included under this paragraph, is that the Commonwealth, no one is going to care. The Commonwealth is going to say, listen, we want to come and do a fish survey of Wenham Pond. And by this conservation restriction, we're allowed to do that. It also, and so that I point this out, there's no red text, but at the bottom, the last paragraph, well, there is some red text, of page 7, the owner, the town, further agrees that this conservation restriction grants to the Commonwealth the right to permit the general public to enter upon and traverse the premises for hunting, fishing, to get down to the pond for boating, things like that. And this is a paragraph that will keep the property open to the general public. And that's basically the purpose of that paragraph. It also references the unpaved path going down to the pond and the unpaved parking area. On page 8, this paragraph that is in red basically says it again, that the town, the owner, also agrees that this grants the Commonwealth the right to permit the public to go onto the property to access Wenham Pond for boating activities. And I put this in because I wanted to emphasize that the boating activities have to be conducted in accordance with rules and regulations adopted by the town, the owner, as well as any other applicable regulations or statutes adopted by the Commonwealth, because there are some that pertain to boating on ponds depending on the size of the pond. And then the rest of this conservation restriction is also, it's boilerplate language. I don't think we need to go through each one item by item, but you can, take a look at it. And that's getting back to on page 11, it talks about this conservation restriction shall be subject to Article 97, which is the document that Joanna has very kindly provided to everyone. And this is at the bottom of page 11 under binding effect, third sentence from the bottom. And I think that's about it. Yep, and then the rest is signature pages and a legal description, which we would get from the recorded plan. And that's, in general, the overview of what a conservation restriction contains. And I know that's a lot to throw at people. If you like, I can just say a couple of words about the Article 97, if you're not familiar with that.
I think we can go ahead with just questions.
Okay, that's fine.
If people on the board have any
Yeah.
comments or questions.
And I'll be glad to come back when you've had more time.
Okay, yeah, I think we're gonna, have to read all this
Yeah,
more
exactly.
carefully, but, do you have any?
I do.
Okay,
I'm going to be a little adversarial if you,
that's quite all
so
right.
forgive me.
That's okay.
I know, it's so out of character for me. I remember when this came before, and I remember that the town was going to auction this land off, and then the residents came and said, hey, hold on a minute, it's in our deed, we have access to the pond through this property, so you can't do that. So, and I'm 100% in favor of what you're doing here. I guess the question I have is, why do we need the Commonwealth's involvement at all? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say that, but I'm looking at a document that's written by a Philadelphia lawyer, and I'm just confused when I get concerned when I see things that say, open to the general public, which means the family from New York can come on down and enjoy Wenham Shores. And that just gets me to wondering, why do we have to involve Fish and Game or the Commonwealth in its entirety? Could we not do this on our own as a town? So,
Well, a conservation restriction, one of the purposes is that, and there can be differences of opinion, absolutely, on this, is that it makes it difficult for an entity that owns a piece of property to change the use of the property so that I can't, nothing is 100% guaranteed. We all know that. But if the town wants, having a conservation restriction on the recreation area and picnic aisle for the purpose of keeping these two pieces of property as permanent open space, then the conservation restriction is a really, really good tool and is used all over the place to help keep that.
it would keep it would keep the select board 10 years from now from saying, hey, we can put a house on this property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's
this
exactly it.
eliminates that, where we could not do that as a restriction as a town, because then we could change that restriction.
Exactly. So what you want is a different entity to hold the conservation restriction that is different from the owner.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that is exactly why people do these things.
Makes sense to me. I'm sorry. I didn't want to sound adversarial, but I'm reading a document that's got a lot of Big Brother in it, and I was kind of like wondering, whoa, what's going
It
on?
does, absolutely, and no, I think you have to ask the difficult questions.
Okay.
It's practice for me, and
Did a good
thinking
job.
on my feet.
Because I could just see a select board getting greedy 10 years from now, saying, this is a great piece of property, we should put a house on it.
Yeah. Well, let's put
Exactly.
it back up for auction.
Put it back up for auction.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. And throw the picnic isle in with it.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, then you have your own little private islands.
They
Yeah,
can have
there
a
you
house
go.
out there, it's all wet.
There is another topic, and I didn't hand out any copies of statutes or things like that. Wenham Pond is about 50 acres in size, and it's considered a great pond by this list that someone maintains. And great ponds, for reasons having to do with the colonial ordinance of 1647, are considered to be open to the public.
Right.
But you can only get to a great pond as a member of the public over a piece of unimproved property. So, which the recreation area would count as a piece of so technically, although there's lots of people who don't really know about great ponds or know about this colonial ordinance, technically, but the great pond is owned, the bottom, not the property around it, is owned by the Commonwealth as a great pond. So, and it's not just Wenham Pond, it's lots of ponds.
So they would own
Sampson.
Sampson's.
That's right.
There's 7 in Carver, I think,
Yeah.
7 great ponds.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cooper, Johns, Dunham.
Yeah.
these sound familiar.
Yeah.
All right. So, nobody advertises this fact, but fishermen would know about it, one talking to the other. So right now, the public does have the right to not necessarily drive, they have the right to traverse, walk across the recreation area to get to Wenham Pond. This will make that clear. There is now a recorded document, if anybody bothers to read it, that says the same thing. But right now, but I don't want you to go away thinking that this radically changes the situation regarding Wenham Pond. It's already accessible to the general public. We don't advertise these things, word of mouth. But I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Good question.
Perfect.
Good question.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea.
Good answer.
Well, thank
You
you.
know,
Perfect.
we were in favor of it when it came up before. We were all shocked that, it was in the deeds and so forth, and I remember having conversations with the former town administrator that something had to be done, because this is gonna wind up in court if it doesn't, so we can't sell it.
Yeah, and we really recognize that there are some people that, they may want to launch a boat on a trailer. And so that unpaved path that goes down to the water, that's why we have this in the conservation restriction.
And they can park right in Joanna's driveway.
No, that area that I showed you on the picture.
Or we would prefer, honestly, that people park on the street. But, this is something that, it's a situation on the property. If the town ever decided that they didn't want people driving their boats down, that's okay with us too. But right now, that's the way the situation is. We're not trying to change it. And so we're here to help the town. Yes.
Could you repeat the size of the pond again?
It's about 50 acres. And the way I've done it is in GIS, I go clicky, 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 and I make a polygon, and the computer calculates the acreage.
Gotcha.
And that's pretty close.
Thank you.
Do we need to give this an okay? We're not gonna vote on it.
No, you don't have
There's
to
nothing
vote.
about it, they just
We're
want to
gonna-
inform you about it.
Anything and do an informal okay next time after we've read through
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Peg, do you have any?
No, thank you. I worked on the coal property, so
Oh, okay.
it helped a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, here it comes.
Oh,
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
And it's probably more Joanna, you'd be the person to answer some of them. How much is that property and that road used now?
The worth of it is about 22,800. Picnic aisle is... How much is it used? Oh, used. I thought you said worth. I'm sorry.
Used.
Used. Oh, yeah. Well, quite a lot. And let me say, Tom Mannix is not here, but he's an avid fisherman, as we know. And when I was just standing there was 3 kayaks that came in. They were out there, fishing and so forth. And they told me, I asked them, do they like fishing here? Oh my God, this is fantastic. And they told me that this is the only way they can get into the pond. That was, because everything else around that pond today has all been built up, so there was no way.
Are powered boats allowed on the pond?
Okay.
No.
I'll try.
This is why I asked about the acreage.
Exactly,
Yeah.
okay.
They had a electric motor, one of these long skinny little things,
Yeah,
pop, pop,
fishing
pop,
motor,
I'm
trolling
assuming.
motor.
The other guy had a kayak, he was just paddling.
Okay.
And I don't know if
Let
it-
me jump in because, and I didn't come prepared to discuss all the details of it, but there are some state statutes that pertain, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
That pertain to Wenham Pond that affect, so let me go, for example, let me see if I can, I don't have the right folder, hold on. I think it is, if you have a pond less than 75 acres, you are not allowed to operate a jet ski. And that's a state statute.
Okay.
Now, but it doesn't say that you cannot operate a gasoline engine, but you cannot operate a jet ski if the pond is less than 75 acres in size. So that's, do you agree, Mr. Badger?
Yeah, sort of. I thought there was a horsepower restriction.
Well, see, this is why, and I apologize, and what we probably ought to do, if we need to talk about, well, we have the statutes, and we can get them to Brooke, who can then email them to you, because the statutes go on and on and on, and I don't want to misquote things, but let me see, I have my file folder of boating regulations, and let me see if I can find it quickly, but because the town of Carver has some pond regulations that are on your website. All right, so here we have, for example, Chapter 131, Section 45, Great Ponds, Public Use, Rules and Regulations, and it talks about every great pond open to, and let me see, here it's talking, well, you can see I don't want, I'm not prepared to talk about the
Okay.
details, but we can get you this, because the towns have the ability in this statute to adopt rules and regulations pertaining to certain aspects of ponds. Now, those rules and regulations, in order really to be enforceable, are also supposed to then be approved by the state. So there's, some detail in that. But the state law, Chapter 90B, Section 9A, jet ski operation. No person shall operate a jet ski, water bike, whatever, on waters of the Commonwealth less than 75 acres.
Okay.
That one is clear, it's only one paragraph.
All right, the reason I was asking the question is that on Sampson's Pond, which is the largest great pond in Carver, this year with the drought, there's a boat launch.
Yes.
On Sampson's Pond. It's paved into the water.
Yes.
And then the pavement ends, under normal circumstances, about 20 to 25 feet from the water line. This year, the end of the pavement was exposed to the
Yes.
water. And what happened was when fishing people, anybody, even people who had their boats on the pond, were pulling them out of the water, they were powering them up onto their trailers.
Yes.
And it dug a ditch
Yes,
that was probably a good 3 to 4 feet deep,
yes,
right at the end of the ramp. And that's a relatively level incline.
yeah.
This here is very steep.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about, how does one go about monitoring and maintaining the ability to keep someone to be able to put their boat in and out without having their trailer and their boat disappear into a black hole.
Yeah.
I think it's really designed to be a kayak, a canoe.
I know what the intent is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
Do you
mean
think
it.
that Bubba's gonna come down with his four-wheel drive and try to back into the pond?
Yep.
Yeah,
Huh?
it might.
All depends on how much he's had to drink.
He might.
Well, Savory, to get to your point, there are, as part of this Chapter 131, Section 45, there are regulations that the town could adopt, and then it would be probably up to the town to enforce them, that pertain to horsepower.
So we can further restrict, but we can't take away from, is that still pretty much the idea?
Oh,
So if these laws say that boating's allowed, we could come in and say, boating's allowed except nothing over 5 horsepower, nothing gasoline powered. We can make the rules more stringent, but we cannot take away from.
Exactly,
The
which
baseline.
is the reason why on page 8, I have this paragraph in red that talks about said boating activities to be conducted in accordance with rules and regulations adopted by the town.
All right, so we-
And applicable regulations and statutes adopted by the Commonwealth. So you would have to see, Alan, to make sure that what you wanted to do jived with state statutes, but you have to anyway. And so this Chapter 131, Section 45, I'll get Brooke a clean, because I got scribble all over it. And so what it says is that the towns in the Commonwealth are able to, under this section, under this statute, let's see, I'll just read some of, any such rule and regulation relative to boating may include any of the following: speed limit, limit on engine size, whether you prohibit gas engines or not, internal combustion engines. However, there are limitations on what the town can adopt, in that those bylaws, in order to be enforceable, are subject to the approval of the Director of Law Enforcement of the state.
Okay.
So you'd have to work with that agency. But yes, we kept it with this CR. That's how we reference, that's, the way of pointing out that it's open to the public for boating, subject to what the town wants to do.
Yeah.
And now, I have seen, not at Sampson's Pond, I haven't been to that boat ramp in a long time, but there's a pond that's fairly near our office, a Great Herring Pond, and I stopped by there this summer, and there was a sign that had been posted saying to boat people, don't wreck your boat ramp by doing exactly what you were describing. Wenham Pond is a little bit different, not that people don't try crazy things, but it's very small. It's not going to get the horsepower engines that Sampson's Pond would
Right,
get.
it's not the great expansive.
Yeah, it really, so you'll get some small trailers, but there's not even a pavement
Right.
there. We don't want to see pavement. We say, listen, unpaved, okay?
Right.
And so it has a little bit different layout, I guess you
So
could say.
could we restrict no vehicles beyond this point? In other words, so, if you've got a canoe, you can pick it up and carry it, or a kayak, or
Yeah.
a small,
Could.
Yeah.
It's tough to get down that hill, though.
It sure is.
No, you
Yeah.
can't.
I will say, Alan, we prefer that people park on the street and walk down, carry their boats. If this were a new thing and the state were going to come in and buy a piece, we would say, listen, this is a car top, what we call a car top access, really, because the state would never be in a position where we would have to maintain that dirt path. We do recognize that there are people in the neighborhood, in town, that do want to launch small boats on small trailers, and that's the situation, and we were willing to live with it, but we certainly we're not going to object if the town wants to say, or, whatever. So we are not opposed to it, but there are people who will be upset, who have been launching small boats for a long time, and honestly, we did not want to come in and say to the town, you have to do this, we didn't want to do that.
All right, I have two very, hopefully simple questions.
Okay.
Under prohibited acts and uses, it says any temporary or permanent structure. Would a dock be allowable?
There is a little one.
There's a little one,
It's on the survey, you can see it. It says, there's a dock there, it's a little thing.
Okay.
I got on it myself, it's just little.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So-
but we don't want to, in fact, I think you'd have to get a permit to put a
Yeah,
dock
you would,
into a
yeah.
great pond, and,
Chapter 91.
yeah, which I'm not that familiar with, but yeah,
There's not a person in Carver who knows
Well,
that law.
but like a permanent dock is.
Well, that's why we have the
Right.
temporary.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, well, so there's one there already, and that's just so
it's a
people can
tiny
step
thing,
into
it doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't know, 5-6 feet.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it
people
gets you out into the
Yeah,
water.
you can-
It just
step
gets
on-
you out of the water if you want to cast your.
Yeah,
Yep, okay.
That's right,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, and finally, the last question is, who is responsible for, like, garbage
The town,
town?
Well, I'm going to tell you, when I went down to take these pictures, there's a trash can somebody put, a nice big 30-gallon whatever right there, with a rock in the bottom to hold it up. So people go there and they pick up.
Who's responsible for emptying that?
Say what?
Who empties that? Who is responsible for emptying?
Where I live, in the beginning of the development on the right-hand side is a fella, he's a Plymouth fireman. I think he's the one that's doing all that, taking care of it and so forth. And he actually, that dock we're talking about was floating, and he went down and fixed it and so forth and so on.
All right, so
Can I just say one thing, is the day I was there, while these people were adventurous, 2 boats came in, and these gentlemen had trucks, but their trucks were way up, parked where that open area that I showed you was, and they just, must have 4-wheel drive. They backed down that truck, and they just lifted up this little kayak canoe, or whatever you want to call it, and, that motor, whatever you call that thing, that motor, and chit-chatted, and off they went. And they said, "We'll see you again. It's great fishing here."
Okay.
I said, "Great, super." And I have not heard anybody ever complain about somebody littering it up or something. Somebody's always picking it up, as far as I know. And I think going forward would be even more,
Okay,
to be honest with you.
very good. So I think that we'll read through
We'll get
this
some more information,
before
yeah.
our next meeting,
Yeah.
and just kind of give it an informal
Okay,
okey dokey.
yeah, okay. I got a copy of the plan from Joanne.
oh, okay, for Joanna, yeah, because you,
Yeah.
okay,
It
good,
is.
yeah, thank you very much.
All right.
And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So maybe if we see when we want Joan to come back, if we look at all the other stuff? Or,
Yeah, I'm happy to come back,
Okay.
yeah. And what I'll do also, I'll remind myself, Brooke, I'll send you those 2 statutes that I was referencing about voting regulations, so that you have a chance to read them. Yeah. I had to really pore through it to get to understand it. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Some of it's good, because people think you're not supposed to have gas engines, but it's really the jet skis that are prohibited.
Yeah, well, I was going to say there's sort of a happy medium in some ponds, depending on the size of the pond and town restrictions, where they say no gas motors, but it's fine to have an electric motor.
Yeah.
That's,
And it's,
Usually the gas is restricted because they're 2-cycle and they don't want the oil in the water.
that's right, yeah. All right, thank you so much. Thank you all.
I know on Long Pond, Plymouth, because they don't want to spook the trout.
It's supposed to be.
Is there someone here about the tree cutting?
I think so.
All right, next
Yeah.
up is tree cutting, 122 Plymouth Street.
Yep. How you doing? Oh,
Thank you again.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Joanna.
Good job.
Pretty interesting.
I knew something had to be done because it's accessible for the deeds.
The residents take pretty good care of it, don't they? Clean it up. And now they.
Unless you got a map, nobody knows where it
I
is.
mean, no one else knows on the top.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Yeah, so I had talked to you.
Yep.
I can't remember.
Michael Durgan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had received a call that somebody was cutting trees down near Cooper's Pond, and we went and took a ride by.
Right.
Number 122, and
Yeah.
then we saw the tree that had
Yes.
been cut. So I sent the owner a letter and asked him just to come in, so we could just talk to him about it. I think there was only that, it was only one tree?
It was one tree that
Yeah.
was on the slope
Yeah,
off to, as you're looking at the
Yeah.
water, off to the left.
yeah, yeah,
It was within certainly the 65 feet,
Yeah.
we believe.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Basically, tree cutting is not, without our permission, is not allowed within 100 feet, and without a variance, really is not allowed within 65 feet unless it's clearly a danger to the dwelling. As Brooke said, we went and saw it, and it was just the one tree. And it didn't appear to be a threat to your home because it was so far down on the slope. And the tree appeared to be healthy as well. So I don't know if the board has any kind of reaction to this.
It's already cut.
It's already cut.
Right.
Put it back.
Well,
Don't-
Plant another one.
I mean, I'd like to know, what was the reason for cutting it?
There was 4 of them out back, and one of them, the top broke and laid it on the porch. So I cut the other 3. Just,
Pine? I wasn't at the site visit.
yeah, big pine.
I think they were all pines.
Yeah.
Were they pines? They
So you
were-
lost the top of a pine and it did
Right.
damage to your house?
Yeah,
And there were 3 others beside this one?
yeah.
Were they all the same height?
Yeah, they were all the same height.
Okay.
Honestly and truly, it makes sense to me.
Yeah,
These pine
I mean,
trees are
and we've
jumping like flies
had
around.
people, do that. I guess pretty much what we would want is we just want you to call us first.
Yeah, I didn't know I had to
Then
pull a
we'll get the
permit,
calls.
yeah.
And then typically we'll go and we'll look and we'll say, you don't have to file if it's a safety.
A safety hazard, yeah.
Safety, yeah, so,
The big problem with the pine trees in Carver, and I've got 5 or 6 that have done the same thing, that they start breaking, and they're breaking anywhere
yeah,
from 15 feet, 12 to 15 feet.
Halfway up, yeah.
To as high as, 20 and 30 feet up,
Yeah.
and they suffer from red rot. They look good on the outside,
yeah,
but a gust of wind comes along
Yeah.
and they break in half and they break right over, and the wood looks good.
right.
When you look at what just broke, it looks like it was a fine, healthy tree till you get up close. And they're reaching the end of their life,
Right.
so.
So basically what Brooke said is what our preferred method of doing business. If you need to cut trees, if you think they're a danger to your home, then you would call Brooke, we would go out and for a site visit and make a determination. If we felt it was, then we would just give you the okay to do that. And what that does, it prevents, if someone does call and say, hey, my neighbor's cutting trees, Brooke can say, we know, we gave him
Yeah.
permission.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's all.
that ends the story instead of having to go the other,
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right?
All right, no problem.
All right, thank you very much. for
Thank you.
coming in. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think all the rest of them, I don't think there's anybody here for the rest of these, if you want to go on to the hearing.
Well, let me just do the
Okay.
update on 44.
Oh, well, that's right, okay, yeah,
Update on 44 Lakeview.
yeah,
The town had a meeting with the property owner a little over a week ago.
Yep.
To discuss the property, so there's nothing that we need to do right now.
Oh, okay,
It's in
good.
other people's
Yeah.
hands. So, not to say it may not reappear, but
Yeah.
at this point, there's no need for any further discussion.
Yeah.
All right, so the business you want to,
I mean, we can do this, this will be real quick.
all right.
The
We can do
Cranberry
the COC later, right? There's no one here for the COC, right?
No, nobody here for that. I told her they didn't have to
Do
bother.
we have
'cause it-
anything for Cranberry Point?
I have for, you want to do Cranberry Point?
Well, is there anyone here? or
No, there's
just-
nobody here. I was just
We
gonna
can
give you
do it
some.
after then.
Okay, we'll do it after.
Let's get to the hearings.
These poor
Okay.
people go home if they want to.
Right, all right.
Do the minutes at the end also?
Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
the minutes at the end as well. All right. Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:15 PM on Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020, in Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent submitted on behalf of M.O. Lyons Realty, LLC, for the construction of a single-family dwelling with associated subsurface sewage disposal system, utilities, and grading within the 65 and 100-foot buffer zone to wetland resource area bordering vegetated wetland. A variance from the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Section 9.2.1.3/3, for the activities, i.e. dwelling and grading, within the 65-foot buffer protected under the bylaw. The project is located at 129 Center Street, Carver, Massachusetts, map 41, lot 6-C. All interested parties are invited to attend.
This is beautiful background.
Yep.
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Brooke, how are you? Good evening, everyone. Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting, representing the applicant for the notice of intent that was submitted for 129 Center Street. The lot is, consists of about 31,000 square feet. There's a bordering vegetated wetland to the north corner of the property. It was delineated by John Zimmer of South River Environmental.
You may have to speak up a little bit into that mic, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm hearing some ringing, so
I don't want it to be muffled on the video.
understood.
He can pull his mask.
You can pull your mask down and talk into it too if you prefer.
Thank you. Again, the wetlands resource area was delineated by John Zimmer. It just clips the back left or the north corner of the property. This property is a lot of record. The lot was subdivided and endorsed by the planning board in 1970. There's 3 lots to the left of this that were part of the division, and all 3 lots have been constructed upon, and they consist of single-family residential dwellings. This lot also is encumbered by an electric easement. The electric easement is maintained by the electric company, and there's also an existing access road on this property. We conducted perk testing and designed a septic system for a 3-bedroom, single-family dwelling. The septic system application has been approved by the Board of Health. It meets all the setback requirements, all the standards for Title V. The approach we took to this development was, and in all cases, is to maximize setbacks to wetlands, avoid impacts, minimize, reduce, and avoid. Again, this is a lot of record. So it's developable under many of the regulations, Board of Health, zoning, planning, among others. There was no other feasible location to locate the dwelling or the well on this property. As I had indicated, the site is encumbered by an electric easement, and the dwelling could not go within the easement and is not able to be set outside the buffer zone, and more particularly outside the 65-foot wetland buffer under the Carver bylaw. We submitted documentation detailing how we meet the performance standards and how we protect the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Carver bylaw, including groundwater protection, sedimentation, erosion, and general protections of the bordering vegetated wetland and functions of the bordering vegetated wetland. So the house we placed outside of the electric easement as far from the resource area as we could. The septic system, we did the same. The driveway, we are utilizing an existing dirt path and then just accessing the front of the building. We are proposing a dry well to collect stormwater from the roof, try and mitigate some of the additional runoff that is created by the development of the lot. As a single-family house lot, it is exempt from state stormwater requirements, so it's not a requirement under the state stormwater regulations, but we do agree that it helps the protection of the resource area by infiltrating the additional runoff that we've created. We are proposing to cut trees within the 65-foot buffer zone. It's actually a small portion of mature trees. As I indicated, the site is encumbered by a electric easement, and it is maintained on a regular basis, so there are no large trees in the easement area. We've located, though, required to locate the well 100 feet from any septic systems, including our own. There's a septic system on 127 Center Street that precludes us from locating the well up near the street, and there's also one on the abutting property to the left at 131. So the site is severely constrained by the development around it, its size, the electric easement, to give a few. So we tried to, again, maximize setbacks. The well's proposed 20 feet from the property line, and I believe probably about 10 feet from the border and vegetated wetland. We're proposing erosion control silt sock around the perimeter of the construction to mitigate erosion and sedimentation of the resource area during construction and until slope stabilization has occurred to, again, mitigate erosion and sedimentation. And we're going to maintain as many of the trees on that north side between the dwelling and the BVW as possible. We needed to create a little bit of a setback around the structure, obviously for safety purposes. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions if you have them. Thank you.
May
Anybody?
I do.
Well, since we walked the lot, I think we all had concerns. There were a lot of wetland indicators that went well beyond what had been delineated as a wetland. And this is obviously not a large lot, but it appeared that the wetlands extended further than were shown on this particular site plan.
We had an independent wetland scientist who is well credentialed and has been in the business for several years. I think he does an excellent job, and we use him on lots of projects. I'd be happy to have him meet with the commission and/or Brooke and review those flags,
Yeah.
and look at soils and
Continue.
vegetation and determine where the line is.
We had talked about that maybe anyway.
We talked
know,
about
yeah,
it, getting
relooking at
a
it,
second
yes.
opinion.
Yeah, well, we could do that.
Do we want to meet with,
Well, we did that with John at 157, I think, North Main. With the Ian, right? I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we could do that if we want to do that. I mean, he's pretty,
Okay. Because, I mean, you pointed things out that were well outside the flagged area.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
were indicators of a wetland.
yeah,
And Brooke, and
Yeah.
Peg, you did too. We did find quite a few things. There were also, we do have the narrative that was given to Brooke or
yeah,
regarding this, and after reading this, I had spoken to Brooke and asked her to talk to people in the planning board regarding what is meant by an existing lot of record, and basically, it just means that the lot was indicated and
Yeah.
put in the registry as deeds. It
Yeah.
does not guarantee that it's a buildable lot.
Correct, it's a lot of record under zoning. Currently, it's 80,000 square foot zoning is required, but this lot predates the zone. That's what makes it a lot of record. Because you can't come along afterwards and make it a non-buildable lot because you changed the zoning.
But what we were told is that a
That's
lot
not
of record
true.
does not make it buildable.
Well, there's several regulations. Obviously, there's quite a regulatory process, but as far as zoning goes, they cannot deny it for its lack of area. It's got to meet the dimensional requirements, but since it was at the time when that was endorsed by the planning board, it met the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Do you know when the power lines were put in?
I do not off the top of my head now.
Because the planning board gave this the existing lot of record 50 years ago. More than 50 years, a little bit more than 50 years ago. And those electric lines may not have been there. There may not have been an easement there at the time, which forces you to move the dwelling into the wetlands.
I'd like to see the boundaries of the easement. You don't have a,
Yes, it's there. It's the dotted line.
this
Yes.
big dash line, this is the easement, all the way
Yeah.
over to the corner of the house?
Yep,
yeah.
That's the
Correct.
size of the easement?
Correct.
and on both sides, you can see it, because they're the power lines.
Yeah, not very good.
But also, I'm looking at 80% of the dwelling within 65 feet.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've, that's an awfully big ask, as far as I'm concerned. So I think that we've got to go and meet with John. And
Yeah.
you know, we've got to have him give it
Yeah.
a second look.
Yeah.
And if he sticks to his guns, I think that we may have to ask for a second opinion,
Okay,
to get somebody in there to
Yeah.
see if what you're seeing
yep,
is more accurate.
right.
We have no issue with a second look at that.
Yeah, so, I mean, so obviously if the line moves up, and it's only gonna make it more within the 65, I mean, the whole issue is pretty much the whole thing's in the, you know, in the 65.
Well, there's
which is
nothing here. There's
Kind of, there really
it's
is.
all easement.
I know. So that zoning stuff, you know, that doesn't really take into account, like, it goes to the planning board, and they say, okay, there's so many square feet big, it's okay by zoning. It doesn't, that doesn't really take into account, like, amount of wetlands and easements and stuff like that? Or-
So it reverts back to the zoning bylaw that was in force
Yeah.
in 1970 when it was endorsed.
Yeah,
Because at that time, it was subdivided as a buildable lot and it had X value. The town can't come along and change the zoning to make it non-buildable.
oh, okay,
That would be a taking.
right.
No, I'm not saying that the town could make it non-buildable. I'm saying that it doesn't guarantee that all other rules are thrown out to make it buildable.
Of course not. If we couldn't get a perk
The
test,
easement was put through either.
I
if we
don't-
couldn't get a perk test, it's not buildable.
Right, right.
I have to prove to you that the project as proposed protects the wetlands and the interests of the act and the bylaw. That's my job to prove to you that this is not going to have an adverse impact to the wetlands resource area. And I tried to spell it out in the narrative, how we, protect the groundwater in the interests of the act. And we can expound upon that some more. I think that, until you have confidence with the wetland line, that's not completely necessary, but it is a hurdle we'll have to get to, one way or the other.
All right, so we're going to have to continue this.
Yep, that's fine.
I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
How do you get by with 108 feet on the well from the septic?
The,
Board of Health signed off on that?
I know they approved the septic. I will double check though. The state regulations.
Minimum, it's 108 feet.
Yeah, the state regulation's 100. I'll have to double check the 150 with the Board of
I
Health.
think it's 150, isn't it, in Carver?
150.
150.
I think it's written on the plan, 150 minimum,
Yeah.
and right above.
Oh,
So
I'm
you
sorry,
planning
okay.
on, your next stop is the ZBA? Is that where you're going with this, or?
We would file for a building permit with the building commissioner. If he were to deny it, then we would see the ZBA to appeal his decision.
And
I mean, is
Sammy,
there-
I'm sorry, I wasn't there
Is there any
today, so
reason that he would deny it?
you're saying, well, I don't have any idea. You're saying that the 65 is not where it's indicated? You think
No.
it's closer?
Oh, no, yes, where the flags are marking in the upper left-hand corner of the green area.
Yeah.
The wetland flags, we walked in there, and there, we saw evidence, we saw blueberry bushes, and we saw maple trees, is that correct?
Red Naples?
A good 10 to 15 feet on this side of the wetlands flags,
Okay.
indicating that that was still part of the
So that's what
wetland.
we're gonna relook at.
So we'd like to just have a better idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
The delineation's based on 50% upland plants versus 50% wetland plants and soils.
I understand that.
So we'll do some soils testing out there as well as take a look at the
Okay,
plants.
that's fine, that's all we can ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Want a
will,
motion to continue?
I will entertain a motion to continue this. Can you get this done by December 16th, or?
We can,
up to him.
we don't have anything new on the 16th, so I mean, how's the 16th then?
That's fine. We'll request another continuance if for some reason we can't
Okay.
come up with a date, but I don't see why we
I
couldn't.
mean, I hadn't really, wasn't sure if we were gonna have one on the 16th or not, but we can.
Because we go 3 weeks before the next one, I believe.
Oh, what's it?
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
Christmas
because
and
it's
New
a
Year's.
holiday.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
wouldn't have the.
So it's December 16th or to January.
Right,
Yeah, because we wouldn't have one on the 30th.
Right.
right. Yeah, so the
And then another one
16th,
on January 3rd or 4th.
so the 16th would be the next one.
The 16th would be the next
Yeah.
one, then it's a 3-week gap till we have
Right.
the first one in
Right.
January.
Right,
I'll move that for that.
but that's okay,
continuance.
unless you want to move, did you want, no, you don't want to go the 23rd, obviously, no.
No.
All right. Jim, you made a motion to continue?
Yes,
to the
move to
16th?
continue.
All right, do we have a second?
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to continue 129 Center Street, DEP 126614, till Wednesday, December 16th.
You want me to get a hold of John to see when it's good for him, and then,
Sure. And I'll get an email going and we'll.
okay, all right.
All right.
Do that, okay.
We'll do it
Yeah,
that way.
okay, perfect.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Call that vote.
Oh, yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Approved unanimously. All right, continued hearings. 80 Meadow Street. I don't have to read this, it's continued.
No, you don't.
Good evening.
Hey, give me that key.
Hi.
It's not. Oh, my God. No. They shouldn't have sold it, well, I don't know. You gonna hang on to it? Gordon? Okay, this is this one.
Yep.
We've actually already seen this, but. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, Darren Michaelis from Foresight Engineering. I understand you had your site visit. I
We
know I
did.
presented this last time. New construction. The homeowner wishes to revive the bogs and farm them themselves. This is their forever home with this on-site septic and well and a proposed pool and grading. All the structures are outside the 65-foot, but we will have some grading within the 65-foot. The only tree that's to be cut is right where the house is going. The rest of the lot is pretty cleared already. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Well, we found the right place this time.
Yes. It's much easier when you're in the right spot. I'm sure all the stakes would have gave it away anyways this time. So.
We were close.
Yeah, you were close.
We were
Yeah,
close the first
we were
time.
far, yeah.
We could see it from where we were.
You might have seen the stakes if they were in the first time.
Yes. Peg and Jim, you were on the site visit?
Yeah.
Any questions, issues, concerns?
No, no. After looking at it and talking about it, it's a pretty good adaptation to the land.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And they are restoring the bogs. Which is
Yes.
nice.
Which is very good news.
The one thing I don't see on this drawing is the location of the pool.
It's to the left of the garage, to the west.
I remember that I'm saying that, that's where it was going, but I think that it's,
You might just have a different plan, and there were some new plans handed out,
Let me see this one. This one might have the pool.
because I was asked to darken up the house. You must have an older version.
Yeah, I think he does have the, oh, yep. I'm sorry, Saber, you got the wrong one.
Got new pool?
Yeah, this, yeah, take these ones. I think I
Yeah, everything's pretty similar. All we did was squeeze the
Yeah.
pool in beside the
That one.
garage there.
Oh, that's better. It's all stuck together?
Yeah, they all stuff.
Yeah, you had asked for some darkened plans with the house, to show it a little more clearly, so.
I'm looking at it, trying to figure out what's
Yeah.
different here. Oh, look at that.
There you go, now it stands out.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's,
that's better.
yeah.
That's all right. This too. That's good.
But the wetlands aren't there.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, I have a,
You got one, you sure?
I think-
yeah, no, it's all
Okay.
darkened
Oh,
up.
you got the pool.
You look good. Oh, you fuss.
So, as we were out there, everything was flagged very well.
Okay.
It was so easy to see everything,
Yeah.
including the well and where all of the barriers, the erosion barriers were gonna be. It was a really good job,
Good.
and it made it very simple
Yep,
to,
yep. Wish everyone would do that.
yeah, it would be nice to have that every time we walk out into the woods or fields. So I have, I think it's fine. I have no issues at all with it. It's a lovely spot.
Thank you.
Now, do you have anything you weren't there?
Sounds like an okey-dokey coming to me.
So, Dan? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I make a motion to close the hearing for Lot 80 Meadow Street, NOI DEP 126613.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved in second to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Nope. Approved unanimously. Now we'll entertain a motion to approve the NOI.
I make a motion, we approve the NOI for Lot 80 Meadow Street, DEP 126613.
Second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the NOI for 80 Meadow Street, 126613. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Approved unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Variance.
Thank you, dear.
Oh, does he need a variance?
Oh, I think there's a, well, there's a little grading in the 65, right?
It's only grading, no structures within the 65.
Still needs a variance.
And no
All right.
tree clearing, yeah.
That's what it says,
We
right?
usually vote on the variance if anything's in the 65. You want to just do that? I mean, it's
All right,
not
we can do that.
not going to change anything.
All right, I'll
I'm just
need a
reading the
motion
word
to,
variance, so I'm just,
Thank
all
you.
right, I need a motion to grant a variance.
Make a motion, we grant the variance as requested for Lot 80 Meadow Street, NOI 126613, as drawn on the map 10/19/20, is that, all right,
There might be a revision.
11/16,
Yeah.
11/16/20.
All right, need a second?
Latest
Second.
revision, right?
It's been moved and seconded to grant the variance for DEP 126613. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, approved unanimously. Okay.
Okey-dokey. I'll take, yeah, give me the revised ones, so I don't mix them all up.
That's just the one we just do.
That's the revised, okay, perfect.
All right, here's the old.
Can you get rid of some of these, I guess?
This is the old one?
That's the old.
Old.
Two new ones are coming.
Yeah, give these all back.
Okay.
All right.
Oh.
and then
Take them
Jim,
away.
These
I'll
are the
trade
old
you.
ones.
Jim's got one of everything.
6 of them, as a matter of fact.
No hoarding, plans, please.
Looks like these are the two new ones.
That's the old one. Okay, here.
And there's that.
There's another old one, I'm pretty sure.
We'll let Brooke figure them out.
Oh, thanks.
She makes all the big money. Here you go.
Okay. Makes this smile, makes this.
27 Wenham.
27, oh, continued. I don't know what they're doing. I don't
Okay.
know what they're doing. I just, yeah, anyway.
All right.
Minutes.
Can't make up the mind. You want to do minutes, or you want to do those other things first?
We'll go back to business.
Okay,
We'll take it in order from where we left off.
okay.
All right, next up is Cranberry Point Energy Storage.
Okay, so you remember that, that was the energy, the new
Yeah.
energy facility at 31 Rear
Yeah.
Main. Did I give you a letter?
Yes.
Yeah, they wanted you to read that into the minutes, but basically, there's just been some changes on that, but it's nothing that's gonna affect, our order of conditions. So this is the old plan and the new one. So they're getting rid of some of the little storage packs and putting, you'll see on the plan.
Wait a minute.
But it's nothing that would affect, our order of conditions, because you remember that, there was that wetland that was kind of,
Yep.
came up and, yeah. So basically, wouldn't really even need an amendment to the order. They just want to notify us that, that there's this change. So it's almost like a minor,
Does it say anything about when they're gonna get going on it?
I think, trying to pretty soon. They've been stuck with the state or something. There's
The
been
state
some-
has been trying to argue, from what I
Yeah.
understand, the state was fighting with them over who was gonna have jurisdiction. The town, the
Oh.
state, the county, Washington
Jurisdiction.
DC. There
Oh,
was-
really? Oh, that's what it
There was a
was.
tug of war on who was gonna
Yeah.
have ultimate control over that project. They were duking it out.
Because it involved intra-county power lines?
Oh,
That's all I
something
had
like
known
that,
was
yeah.
that there was a tug of war. What I was told was there was a tug of war over who was gonna have oversight.
It might be in that letter,
Ultimate
Sabri. There might be
oversight.
something in that letter, if you wanted to read that.
The town was gonna have limited oversight, the state was gonna step in and have more oversight.
It is. I don't have to read this in.
No.
No, she can just put it in the, and you can give her a copy, Mary Ann a copy, and just put it.
I'll give you a copy, Mary.
Who's it a letter from?
It's from Plus Power,
These people right here, yep.
Yeah,
We have an extra copy of
the
it?
developer.
yeah, and she can scan it right in.
Oh, to
Jill, yeah.
Jill, and this will be attached.
Should I read it?
It's a long letter, isn't it?
I can read fast.
It's up to you, but
All
you're
right.
not gonna comprehend it.
It kinda
It'd just be better to just.
Well, it'll be then.
It explains it, because it's the Energy Facilities Siting Board is the
You got
one that
any
was
more of those?
given the,
All right.
yep, I got a bunch.
Okay, dear Ms. Monroe, this is regarding Cranberry Point Energy Storage Project ownership, permitting, and site design update. As discussed on our call on November 24th, 2020, this document is intended to provide the Carver Conservation Commission with the status of the Cranberry Point Energy Storage Project, which was granted a special permit on March 26, 2019 by the Planning Board and an order of conditions by the Conservation Commission on February 7th. On January 4th, Cranberry Point Energy, 2019 Cranberry Point Energy Storage petitioned the Energy Facility Siting Board, the EFCB, for determination that a 150-megawatt energy storage system is a non-jurisdictional facility. At the time of the petition, Cranberry Point was to be owned and operated by Enel Energy Storage Holdings. On June 12, 2020, Enel sold its interest in Cranberry Point to Plus Power Limited Liability, LLC. Plus Power's development team, including Alex Frankel, who started the development of this project while working as a consultant to Enel, will be continuing the development, planning, and permitting activities for the project over the next several months. Plus Power has determined that the EFSB is unlikely to give up their jurisdiction of the Cranberry Point Energy Storage Project. Given this determination, we plan to request approval of the project by the EFSB. As part of its review process, the EFSB will affirm that the Town of Carver's Planning Board has issued the developer a special permit and will mandate compliance with any conditions incorporated into that document, as well as the order of conditions issued by the Carver Conservation Commission. Since taking ownership of Cranberry Point, Plus Power has accepted the project's original site design as approved by the Town of Carver's Planning Board. In finalizing the site design, Plus Power found it necessary to make non-material updates to the site design that do not alter the facility's compliance with the special conditions set forth in Attachment A to the Conservation Commission's Order of Conditions. Similarly, Plus Power's updates to the site layout do not alter the recommendations made by the Carver Conservation Commission or the Carver Fire Department during the special permit process. The latest site design accommodates the need to enlarge the area set aside for the transmission owner's Eversource substation to meet the actual space necessary for that structure. The additional space was available after we obtained the latest energy density assumptions from the anticipated battery manufacturer, which resulted in fewer battery containers required for the project. The site will still be accessible via the entrance south of the existing cell tower, and sufficient vehicular access is shown for site maintenance and emergency needs. The project plans to participate in the Independent System Operator of New England, ISONE, forward capacity auction, which takes place on February 8, 2021. Plus Power seeks to commence construction and interconnection of the project during or before Q3 2023 and begin operation on or before June 1st, 2024. We look forward to working with the Town of Carver on the Cranberry Point Energy Storage Project, and will keep you informed as we continue our development of the site and make plans to submit a permit application to the EFSB. If you have any questions, please reach out to Allison Sand using the contact information below. Thank you in advance for your support. Allison Sand, Developer Plus Power. All right. Well, it's a
Add that as an attachment
So-
to the minutes
Yeah.
when we finally post it.
Yeah. So,
So, yeah, so as far as our order of conditions is concerned, it really doesn't have any effect on that. That's pretty much what they wanted us to just take a look at, because now they do have to go to planning board, I guess, and get some other kind of
2024.
special.
now,
permit.
does
You know what?
our approval run out? Does it have a clock on it?
Well, it's good for 3 years, so I'll have to remind them to get an extension. In other words, just to extend the order of conditions before the 3-year period.
Yeah, because it says here, cease to commence construction and interconnection during or before Q3 2023.
Okay, so I better have them, file for an extension. So I'm trying to think, when did we issue that, did you say?
February 7th, 2019.
Yeah.
So it would almost be 4.5 years.
Oh, all right, so they'll need to do
They
that
have to.
before that, yes, I'll have them do that early, and then they don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Because they don't want to run into that, running it out, and then have to file again.
Right.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
remind
so
you.
just, get that so that we can issue that.
Technology will come along and they'll
Yeah.
shovel this and come in with a
Jesus.
whole new
I
plan.
can't believe that takes so long, it's like ridiculous, isn't it?
It's the permitting process.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Okay. Well, I guess it's the result, based on what they're saying, of better batteries.
Better,
Yeah, yeah.
it's an evolutionary thing.
Right.
A year from now, there'll be better batteries than we have now.
Right.
So, it'll probably start sometime around 2030, because that's what,
Yeah.
Right. And it'll be this big.
You were waiting for
They
that
won't
one to
even need
start,
us.
Jim. You've been waiting for that for a while. It's gonna still be another few years.
and it is Tesla. They're using Tesla batteries.
They were, yes. That's right. 20 Gate Street, Cranberry Farms, proposed activity.
You remember that, we went and looked at that, and he wanted to, reprocess the road going in by the bogs. We met with Brian Grady.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, all the way
20 Gates.
down the old road bed.
Yeah, and then they had talked about doing the parking lot in front of the building.
Yes.
They want to pave it. I'll show you. I can't remember what we had talked, when we went on the site, I didn't think they wanted to pave it. I thought they were just gonna do the process gravel, but
They
now.
were going to do the process gravel, because I even asked them about the little cutout that was along the driveway
Right.
coming in.
So now they want to pave it, so I wanted to talk to him before. Because I think he was arguing that the process you know,
Paving's
gravel
a whole
wasn't
different ballgame.
really
No, I've
that
been out
good
there.
either, because, you know, when it gets left, you know, knocked
It never,
around.
it never stops being processed gravel.
Right, it kind of loose and
Well,
gravel.
no matter what, then when they go to plow it, they're gonna plow it up
Right,
and dig
right.
it up. That's what happens
So
with dirt.
So I think that's, and I mean, as far as paving it, I mean, wouldn't really be part of the agricultural thing. Well, it's near the building, so it is within the, you know, the Cranberry operation, but, I don't know. But you remember that parking lot, right, in front of
I
the
do.
building? Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't they just put down ground asphalt? Or is that what's there now?
It's gotta be permeable.
I can't remember what's there now.
It's gotta
That's,
stay permeable.
Yeah.
So it should be the process.
It's gotta be processed something, it's gotta be permeable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
Put
a
down
huge,
cobblestones if they want.
I mean, they
It's
agreed
gotta
to
be-
do that on the roadway.
It's gotta be
Yeah.
permeable.
Right, they agreed to do that on the roadway, so, I
Yeah.
mean, they might as well just do it here. I'm not sure why exactly they want it.
well, it's a larger area and,
It makes it much easier to plow and maintain
Right, it does.
on
Yeah.
their behalf, but the fact
Right.
is that, you know, it's,
well, the fact is that it's also a parking area, so all that oil and grease is gonna sit on
yeah,
the
and you don't know,
surface.
that's right,
Right.
and you don't know how many cars are gonna come in there and
Yeah.
park, and you're gonna get, you know, Uncle
Yeah.
Jeb's old clunker's gonna come
Right.
in, leaking all over the ground.
And the corner of it's like 32 feet away from the bog,
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
And
it just, it's gotta
his
stay.
bogs.
yeah, it's gotta be permeable.
Okay, I kind of figured you would say that, but,
All right. DEP site visit, Brooke.
oh, yes, I just wanted to let you know, that's next week, next Tuesday, at 10:45, and that's the Pine Street appeal. The neighbors.
What's going on with that?
It was appealed by the neighbors, the
Yeah.
DEP. Okay, so it's a site visit with DEP.
Oh, DEP.
They come out and do their review, so that's it. Next Tuesday, is that the 10th? 10:45.
Yeah, I'm working.
December 7th, that was
It's the
Oh,
8th.
I'm sorry.
It's
not
the 8th.
8th.
Yeah. Whatever Tuesday is.
It's the 8th.
The 8th
Yep.
at 10 o'clock.
So we just meet on site, and I don't know if the neighbors are gonna go, and if they go,
There's still
can they
no
go on the
trespass-
property?
well,
That's the
There's still no
question.
trespassing signs on that property.
Right.
But the
But
former owner doesn't own it.
Right.
The land is owned by
The new-
Cole now, but they, technically, the people that have
Right.
complained to DEP are technically the plaintiffs. So they have the right to go,
Well, and DEP's gonna wanna talk to them at least.
Yep.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean? Because they're the ones filing the complaint, so.
Yeah, we talked
And there's a
about,
heck of a dirt track in there now, too.
is there?
A motorcycle dirt track.
Oh, there is?
They're from Morrissey.
Yeah.
From Morrissey?
Yeah, it's all dug up.
They probably did it on purpose.
No,
It's recent?
yeah, Gene saw them riding from their house the other day. I
Oh.
think.
Someone on Morrissey?
Yeah,
So they're trespassing.
I'm just telling you what she said.
Is this site visit for us to go on as well?
I will.
Yeah, oh, yes. Oh, they want the commission there
Might have
because
to take the time off and
No,
go do
with-
that.
DEP wants to know why we issued an order of conditions allowing it. That's basically, because the people are saying, why
So-
did the commission allow it? We have to go defend our order of conditions.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, what the protocol was in terms of what we, allowed to say, or
You
for
say,
observers only, or what?
no, the DEP, they'll ask us, or ask the commission,
Why we ruled?
why we issued
Why
the
we
order,
did.
and,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, is this, being the plaintiffs, they know that this is happening then?
They must have. I get contacted by email. Typically, DEP sends out a letter, but because of the COVID thing, they didn't. So he contacted me, Gary Makich, by email. So he has to have contacted, that's not up for us to tell
Doesn't
them.
matter. All that matters to us is that we meet with the DEP. Who they contact
Right.
and invite is not our
Well,
problem.
DEP has to invite them, because they're the
Well,
ones
we're
who
not
started the
running
whole
this
thing.
The
No,
DEP is.
right.
So as long as we show up, we're good.
And I did tell Arthur Borden, because, I figured he might want to go, so
Yeah, you'll
they'll
want
probably
to
go.
Is the property owner notified?
Yep,
So Pierre Cole's been notified?
yeah.
Yeah, Arthur may not be.
He should have been.
Has Arthur been hired by Pierre?
Yes.
So Arthur is representing the property continually?
Arthur would be going, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
then Arthur would go.
yeah.
With this rubber ruler.
How do we, or do we even have to, get Pierre to allow the plaintiffs on the property.
Well, I mean, he should, because it's, you know, it's just, it's not good if he doesn't.
How can you stop them? They're the plaintiffs.
I think he can. I think he can tell them they
I don't think he
can't.
can.
But I think DEP is probably gonna try to encourage him to, you know, let them all, or we'll have to stand out in the street and talk.
I think the
guess.
ones that actually filed the complaint, that are listed on the complaint, would have a right to access and would have a right to hear what we say to DEP and what DEP
Right.
asks us.
Oh, because it's kind of, it's, yes, I think so too.
It's a site visit that turns into a hearing.
Right.
Well, yes, so we have to post that.
No,
We don't.
no. I don't think so. Do we ever post
I
this
would
before?
post it just in case,
I would post it as
Yeah.
as a off-site
yeah.
meeting,
Oh, okay.
because we are going, we may not deliberate, but we're certainly going to discuss.
Right, and there'll probably be a quorum.
We'll have a quorum, so.
And we're not, yeah, we'll probably have a
For
quorum.
answering questions to the DEP, I'm not sure the deliberation rules apply.
I don't think they do. I
don't
think
think
it's,
that- I think
I think
we
when it's a, yeah, I think it's when it's a DEP thing, it's a totally
Yeah,
different.
it's a whole different ballgame. Maybe you can
Situation.
check with, you know, just get our guidelines from
And it's-
council.
and it-
I'm pretty sure DEP can ask us any question, and we can sit there and say, well, Savory thought it was a
Right.
good idea for this, but I said it was a good idea to do
Yeah.
this.
And it's
Dan
not,
said, no, we shouldn't do it that way.
It's
Right,
not-
but the plaintiffs will be there too.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's also not considered a public
but
hearing.
it's not a public hearing.
But we will have a quorum, though, correct?
But it's a site visit, it's technically a site visit where we're required to be, we've been asked to show up by an ultimate overruling authority.
Right. And
So
then
DEP can throw everything we did right in the trash and say, oh, no, we're gonna do it this way.
they can issue a superseding order of conditions saying, no, you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they will in this case.
So no
but-
votes will be taken.
But you're
It
right.
wouldn't
It's
be a
just an
voting
open
situation.
discussion.
Our
So it's-
vote, our stand is our stand, and DEP is gonna make the decision whether they're gonna side with the Conservation Commission or overrule it or
Right.
modify it.
So I don't know that that has to be posted.
I
We
don't
have
see
not
any
in the
harm in
past.
posting it,
I would post it.
Yeah, I'd post it
Okay.
as an
In
FYI.
because of
Yeah.
everything else that's going around. you
Yeah,
know,
with the
sure.
new open meeting
So
law.
within the
Is it
48 hours?
transparency?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
post it as a Conservation Commission site visit.
With
With the
DEP.
I would even go so far as to say a site visit at the request of the DEP.
A
Absolutely.
DEP,
So that
yes.
it's not us initiating this. We're not going there because we had nothing better to do.
Right.
We're going there because the DEP, a superseding
We're
authority.
there because of an appeal.
Is asking us to do that.
Yeah.
Because of an appeal.
So that eliminates any problem we're gonna have with open
Open
meeting
meeting laws,
violations
right.
and quorum conflicts and
Yep.
so forth and so on. It'd
Right.
be no different than if the five of us went to court.
Correct.
And I mean, they could come back and say, because they're talking to DEP or whatever, that's like the open meeting, it's a private meeting.
They can't.
There's
They're
no,
not
there's no
listening.
downside to posting it though, so. let's
Right,
just do
okay,
it.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have Jill do it, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Don't you feel better now?
No. You need to go.
I'm gonna
Take a
actually.
day off.
I am gonna actually take the day off and be there for
You
that
should.
because I have some vested interest in this.
Yes, you do.
All right,
Maybe a little-
COC. next up. The
Oh,
COC, Edgewood Bogs.
Yep, well, we went and saw that, that was an old order of conditions for the construction of a 5-acre bog on the Edgewood Bog property.
Yeah.
We went and saw it, and
Yeah.
it was there.
And
it's a bog.
I know where they are.
It looks beautiful,
It's an okey-dokey.
Yeah, it was fine.
definitely.
Yeah,
okey-doke.
did a nice job.
Somebody else make the motion.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the COC for Edgewood Bogs.
I so move.
All right, second?
Sure.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the COC for Edgewood Bogs, 174 Tremont Street, DEP 126447. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Good thing, because I signed it.
We have a revote.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as written for November 18th, 2020.
I'll second.
Oh. Good bog.
Has everyone looked through the minutes? Everyone okay?
I'm abstaining.
Ed has to abstain.
All right, it's It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of November 18th as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
One abstention. All right, it's 401. And
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I think that's it.
Do you want that for Oh, you're a hoarder.
Before we adjourn,
Firewood.
before we adjourn, this wasn't on the agenda, but it's one of those not anticipated.
Yep.
Did you receive an email this morning from the Community Preservation Commission, Bob
Yes.
Bentley,
About
about the Buzzards Bay Coalition?
questions about the Griffith parcels.
Yes.
Yes,
But he's expecting answers from the
No,
conservation.
Alan Decker's going to answer those.
He's going to answer everything.
Yep.
Okay.
Or Alan's going to come back and maybe if he's got questions, but he's the one pretty much who did that whole thing. And then
Okay.
I don't know if I told you, we did get partial funding for that. The mini grant,
Okay.
they asked for 50 and they got, I think, because of, funding things with the state and everything, they got like 20, almost 21,000. So now the rest of it has to come pretty much from other sources, which would be CPC or, I don't know. So hopefully CPC will give some money, I don't know. They had a bunch of questions, though, you're right, I know, they were kind of weird questions, but.
Well, they were interesting questions, but it said at the end of the email, it said, we expect we will have additional questions at the meeting. We would appreciate responses.
Yep,
from
Alan's
both
gonna go to the meeting, too.
DBC as well as the
Yep.
Conservation Commission. So I
Yeah,
didn't know if we needed to-
Alan Decker from Buzzards Bay is gonna go to the meeting, and he's gonna answer all their questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hoping he would, because I couldn't answer all of those, I don't know about you, but they were kind, because, he filled out the whole application, everything, he did everything, so.
My memory slipped.
The Buzzards Bay Coalition has applied to the Carver Preservation Commission to purchase 4 pieces of property around Lakeview Street and
Oh, right,
on
right.
Indian Street.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
right, the old Griffith properties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Griffith's property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Griffith Properties. And,
Now I remember, okay.
Yeah,
and
I
the
think
the CPC had some questions.
Yeah.
that
Did I
were
give you
sent.
stuff on that? I think I might have given you something.
We had something. We
Yeah.
had just a,
I get this pack, if you want this one, this is the.
I think we got a
it's-
map.
It's the contract and the,
Mm-hmm.
that says that we got the money and stuff, I don't know if you need all that stuff. But I gave you the plan and everything.
All right, we don't have to vote on anything, though,
No,
moving
No.
forward.
not right, no.
Okay, there's nothing we need to put on
No.
the agenda for the 16th regarding this, because the CPC is meeting on the 17th, the next night.
Right, no, as far as, no. And if I get something from Alan in the meantime, I'll put it on the agenda, but I don't think so. It seems like he's gonna answer everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Dan, you had a,
Yeah, the last meeting, we had gotten that presentation regarding Grumpy's Brook, and there is going to be the dedication itself is on the 19th,
Oh, I was gonna tell you, yeah, at 10 o'clock.
and I thought it'd be nice if one or any of us attended.
right.
Yeah, Sarah would like everybody to go if you can. I'm gonna go. I'll go.
Yeah, I will try to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be available that day, but
Okay.
I will try to. That's on the 19th.
Yeah.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Saturday.
Saturday.
It's a Saturday, yeah.
Grumpy's thing, right?
10
Yeah.
o'clock, right? 10:30?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
At up Summer Street.
So he was both a conservationist and a veteran, so the Veterans Office is also going to be involved, and there'll be scouts will have colors there, and so.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves it. He was a
And
great guy.
I guess his sister's gonna be there, Grumpy's sister.
Yeah.
Where's everyone
Oh,
going to
good.
park?
It's a good question. I know, you're
Oh,
right.
that's a good point.
We'll be in the field with the cow.
Or out in the middle of the street.
All right, we've had a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're out. Thank you.